Have you ever been in a conversation in English where you said the right words? The grammar was correct, the vocabulary was there, the sentence was clear, and the other person still didn't believe you, still didn't agree with you, still walked away unconvinced? You were speaking English, but you were not persuading in English. And there's a difference, a huge difference, one that most English courses never teach. Think about the last time you tried to convince someone of something in English. Maybe you were in a meeting and you had a good idea. Maybe you were in a job interview and you were genuinely the right person for the role. Maybe you were in a conversation and you absolutely knew that you were right. And still, nothing changed. The other person nodded politely and moved on. That is not a vocabulary problem. That is not a grammar problem. That is a persuasion problem. And it was solved definitively, completely, permanently by a Greek philosopher named Aristotle around 350 BC in a book called the Rhetoric, a book that every lawyer, every politician, every great communicator in the world has read, and that almost nobody in English class has ever heard of. Today, that changes. By the end of this video, I'm going to give you Aristotle's 3 pillars of persuasion, adapted for real English conversations, not speeches, not debates, real conversations, the kind you have every day, at work, in interviews, with clients, with colleagues, with anyone whose opinion actually matters to you. Before we get to Aristotle, I want you to understand something about how persuasion actually works, because most of us, especially in the second language, make the same mistake every single time. We go straight to the argument. Someone disagrees with us. Immediately we give them facts, evidence, logic, reasons. We explain, we justify, we list, we prove, and the more they resist, the more facts we add, more data, more logic, more proof, and it doesn't work. Here's why. The human brain does not change its mind because of facts. It changes its mind because of trust, connection, and then facts, in exactly that order. When we receive information from someone we trust and feel connected to, the logical part of our brain opens. It listens. It evaluates. It can be convinced. But when we receive information from someone we don't trust or someone we feel no connection with, even perfect logic bounces off. The brain closes. It protects. It rejects. Aristotle understood this 24 centuries ago. He called the 3 elements ethos, pathos, and logos. And he said that every successful act of persuasion uses all 3, always in the right order. Let me show you what this means for your English. Today, in real life, Pillar 1, ethos. Make them trust you first. Ethos is about credibility. Before you say anything, before you get a single fact or argument, the other person is already asking one question unconsciously. Why should I listen to you? Not, is this true? Not, is this logical? Just, why you? In your native language, you build credibility naturally, through years of shared history, through the way you carry yourself, through your reputation. But in English, especially when your accent is foreign, when your vocabulary is slightly limited, when you hesitate occasionally, that credibility doesn't come automatically. You have to build it deliberately, with words. The good news, it takes only 1 or 2 sentences. I've been working in this area for 3 years, and the one thing I keep seeing is, I want to be honest with you. I had the exact same concern 6 months ago, and here's what changed my mind. I'm not an expert on all of this, but I've been paying close attention to X, and something struck me. Do you see what these sentences do? They don't claim to be the smartest person in the room. They claim to be someone who has paid attention, who has experience, who is being honest. That is ethos. That is enough. The mistake most English learners make. They skip ethos completely and go straight to the argument. The other person's brain immediately asks, but who are you to say this? And the argument is already lost before it begins. 1 or 2 sentences of ethos at the start, every time, without exception. Pillar 2, pathos. Make them feel something before you make them think. Pathos is about emotion, not manipulation, not exaggeration. Real, honest emotional connection. Before you give your argument, You connect your idea to something the other person already cares about. This is the pillar that most English learners are most afraid of, because in professional contexts, in meetings and interviews, in business conversations, emotion feels inappropriate, too personal, too risky. We think, this is a professional conversation. I should be neutral, objective, logical. Aristotle disagreed. He said, logic without emotion is just data. And data alone never changed a single mind in human history. Think about how you do this naturally in Portuguese. When you want someone to understand your point of view, you don't just state the facts. You say, imagine if this happened to you. You say, I know you've been through something similar. You say, the reason this matters to me is... You build a bridge between your idea and their world. Pathos in English works exactly the same way. You just need the right phrases. I know this isn't easy to hear, and I say it because I respect the work you've already done. Imagine you're the client in this situation. What would you need to feel confident? The reason I care about this is because I've seen what happens when we get it wrong. I think we both want the same thing here, and that's exactly why I want to raise this. These sentences do something remarkable. They lower the other person's defenses before your argument even arrives. They signal, I am not your opponent. I am on your side. I am trying to solve the same problem you are. And when that signal lands, the brain opens, logic gets in. Pillar 3, logos, now given the argument. Only now, after ethos, after pathos, do you give the logical argument, the facts, the evidence, the reasoning. And here is the key difference. At this point, the other person is actually listening, really listening, because they trust you, they feel connected to the problem, and now they want to understand your logic. You're no longer pushing. They are pulling. Logos in English is about structure, not complexity. Structure. The simplest and most powerful structure for an argument in English is 3 parts. The problem, the evidence, the proposal. Here is what I'm seeing. Here is why it matters. Here is what I think we should do. That's it. 3 sentences. You can expand each one, add details, give examples, but the skeleton is always the same. Problem, evidence, proposal. What most learners do, they give the proposal first. I think we should do X, then the evidence because of Y and Z, then the problem, which is causing W, completely backwards. The brain needs to understand a problem before it can evaluate the solution. Always problem first. And always end with a question, not a conclusion. A question. Does that make sense from where you're sitting? What's your instinct on this? Am I missing something you can see that I can't? A question at the end does 3 things. It shows humility. It invites the other person to contribute. And it keeps the conversation alive, which means you haven't lost them. And as long as you haven't lost them, you can still persuade them. Let me show you what all 3 pillars look like together in one real English conversation. Let's say you're in a meeting and you want to propose changing a process that isn't working. Without Aristotle, I think we should change this process. It's inefficient and it's costing us time. Watch what happens with all 3 pillars. Ethos. I've been on 3 projects where this came up, so I've had some time to think about it. Pathos. I know we're all under pressure right now, and the last thing anyone needs is one more change. I wouldn't bring this up if I didn't think it was worth the conversation. Logos. Here's what I'm seeing. The current process takes 4 steps where 2 would do the same job. I've mapped it out. It's a small change, and in the last project I tried it on, we saved about half a day per week. Would it be worth looking at this together? Same idea, completely different result. That is Aristotle, in a real English meeting, in under a minute. Now practice with me. Say each sentence out loud, as if you mean it. Sentence 1. Before I give you my argument, let me tell you why I care about this. Say it. Sentence 2. I know this isn't easy to hear. I say it because I respect you. Say it with warmth. Sentence 3. Here is a problem. Here is the evidence. Here is what I propose. Say it slowly, clearly. Sentence 4. Does that make sense of where you're sitting? Say it with genuine curiosity. You just used ethos, pathos, and logos in real English in 4 sentences. Aristotle would approve. Now your challenge for this week. And I want you to try this once before the next video comes out. The next time you need to convince someone of something in English, anyone about anything, use the 3 pillars. 1 or 2 sentences of ethos. 1 or 2 sentences of pathos. Then your argument. Then a question. And then come back here and tell me in the comments. Did it work? I genuinely want to know, because the comments on this channel are where real learning happens. And your experience, even if it didn't go perfectly, might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. If Aristotle changed the way you think about English conversations today, subscribe, because we are building something here. Not just a list of tips, a system, a complete set of tools for every English situation you will ever face. We started with Seneca, who taught you that mindset is a foundation of everything. Then Cicero, who taught you that how you speak matters as much as what you say. Then Feynman, who gave you a method to make every word stick forever. Then Churchill, who showed you how to speak when the pressure is highest. And today, Aristotle completed the picture. Now, you don't just know how to speak English. You know how to move people with English. Next week, we cross into the 20th century. And we're going to talk about a man who stood on a stage in jeans and a black turtleneck, with no notes and no teleprompter, and changed the world with a product launch. Steve Jobs, the man who turned simplicity into a superpower. And I'm going to show you how his method, 3 sentences, 1 idea, 0 jargon, can make your English unforgettable in any room. Subscribe. Don't miss it. And until then, trust first, connect second, argue third. Always in that order. I'll see you next week.